What's up, folks? Back with another reaction, back with A Flock of Seagulls for the first time. And indeed, anytime I react to a group for the first time on my channel, I just want to say welcome to anyone who just found the channel. I do things a bit differently on this reaction channel. I'm a music collector for a long time. I'm in my early 40s. I turned 42 later this year. And I've been collecting vinyl records for a long time, CDs for a long time. I used to have a lot of mixtapes, so I listen to all different kinds of music, synth pop, yes, but punk rock, hip hop, reggae, jazz, classical, ambient, downtempo, hardcore, acid trance, acid techno, and so on. So my musical tastes are wide and diverse. But the point is, I don't react to YouTube videos. I react to physical media, like actual, vinyl or CD releases, or as you will see, in recent times, people who've been enjoying my channel and sort of engage and talking about different groups have started sending me their copies of albums so that I can continue to react to some groups before I actually get every single one of their physical albums myself. So, and that is the case here. So shout out to Han Solo, a big friend of the channel. But yeah, bottom line, I've been a music collector for a long time. I enjoy celebrating physical media. I got nothing against people who react to YouTube videos, and indeed, at some point in the future, I think the plan is to get some of my more technologically savvy friends to sort of get that setup going for me. But again, I started a previous channel which was all about reacting to and mixing techno and trance and hardcore and other electronic styles. Earlier this year, YouTube told me that I had to leave that old channel because it was linked to my old college email from years back. So I started this new channel. I posted my first video in May. And at that point I began reacting to regular music, not only synth pop again, but jazz, reggae, punk rock, and so on. And yeah, over time, a number of people have found the channel, and I really appreciate their contributions. But basically, I'm just kind of a DIY, sort of low-pro reactor. I just sort of listen to music in a more traditional format. And yeah, a number of people have helped sort of guide some of these deep dives that I've started to do in different groups. Obviously, there's a lot of groups that I've known over the years. But yeah, there's been a few groups that maybe I heard one or two of their tunes back in the 80s, but I don't really know their full catalog or discography, and I've had, again, very friendly and helpful and informative people, friends of the channel, allow me to, once again, either through, sending me an album so that I'm able to react to it, or at the very least, providing context and background so that when I react to their tracks, I'm not doing so in a vacuum. And in that regard, we're going to listen to a group that fits very much into what I was just saying. A Flock of Seagulls is a group that I remember from their major hit, which is the third song on their opening album. The opening album, just make sure I have this right, is called... Do I have... Yeah, the opening album is called... Oh, it's self-titled, right. So this is, I think, 1982. Let me make sure I have that right. Where are we? Okay, Flock of Seagulls. Okay, they formed in '79, but the first release, or the first proper album, sorry, wasn't until 1982, and indeed that is a self-titled album. My understanding is that the group was initially started by a couple brothers, Mike and Ali. I believe the surname is Score. I think they're from Liverpool. But yeah, bottom line, I never knew much about the band, more generally, certainly not the lineup, but I absolutely remember the song I Ran So Far Away. It's one of those songs that in my, I was born in 1980, so I was a single-digit kid. Probably didn't hear it right when it came out in '82, because, you don't start really remembering things till you're like, I don't know, at least like 3 or 4. But I definitely remember hearing it on the radio, and I remember thinking, like, it had such a wicked kind of atmosphere. It's sort of kind of this bright and energetic tune, and yet, like, there's a fear to it, there's sort of a darkness to it, and then as I got a little older and I sort of understood the lyrics were kind of like, I think one of them had seen like an alien kind of sci-fi movie in which, like, there were, like, I think these women aliens trying to, like, abduct or use a tractor beam to take a human up onto their ship and so on, and so I think the song is kind of a narrative exploration of that kind of idea, finding, seeing a woman out on the street who's very transfixing and sort of hypnotizing, and oh, it turns out, she actually has some sort of, hypnotizing power with her eyes, and she's trying to use it on you and then get you, again, into a tractor beam and go up into a spaceship. So I very much enjoyed the lyrics, and I felt like the sonic atmosphere absolutely does capture kind of the essence of the narrative. Oh, and by the way, it has this classic sort of early 80s synth pop, synth rock, somewhere in between the two feel. There's a great guitar solo section near the end, so I've always enjoyed the tune. And recently, again, friend of the channel Han Solo was saying there's some albums that he's going to make available to me, as you know, because I've been going through like Erasure's catalog, and I bought a number of Erasure albums recently, even though I do know a little of their work, you know, from back in the day, and I've been going on a deep dive. Same thing with Duran Duran. Depeche is a little different. I've been listening to Depeche pretty much my whole life. But bottom line, as I've been going through some of these groups, it does beg the question, okay, when I get through this whole catalog, you know, what else am I going to listen to? And again, Han Solo and a couple other people, Philip is another example, have made a number of different groups' material available to me even before I get the physical copies myself. So once again, shout out to you all, and in this case to Han Solo. So yeah, we're going to start going through their self-titled album. I'm going to start with the one touchstone, the one anchor that I do remember. So we're going to start with I Ran So Far Away, but then I'm just going to go back to the first track. This is the third track. And we're just going to go through this album chronologically and then go on to the next one and go through that chronologically and so on. So hopefully you're here for it. Again, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I really appreciate you checking out the video. And yeah, let's get to it. This is Aha, and the tune is... Oh, actually, you know what I should mention, what I often do when I don't know a tune or when I'm reacting to a tune that, as far as I know, I've heard before. Yeah, I'm not going to so much do it to this, because again, I did just kind of talk about the lyrics as I've understood them, though even then, like if I know a song, and I've heard it over the years, I never claim that my lyrical interpretations are definitive or authoritative, and indeed, even if I know something about the origin or source inspiration of the song, at the end of the day, you know, song lyrics are a dialogue between listener and artist, and ultimately there can be subtleties, you know, that an artist may not have revealed about a songwriter or a particular song when they were writing it, in terms of, you know, things that were going on in their head that they may not have talked about in an interview and so on. So yeah, even when I know a tune, I never claim that my lyrical analyses are definitive. But yeah, as we start going through other Flock of Seagull tracks that I haven't heard before, what I usually do is I think about the title. I just sort of, you know, look at it, think about conceptually what it might suggest, what themes might be at play, and it's just a way to get my brain working for like a minute or two before we listen to the song, so that if I hear a lyric that sort of fits into one of those thoughts, I can sort of, you know, already kind of have an understanding of where it might be going. So yeah, we're not going to do that here, because like I said, I did already talk about the lyrics, and it is a song that I actually know. But just to give you the forewarning that once we go back to the, you know, the rest of the album chronologically, that is something I will be doing for a minute or two before we start. But yeah, with no more further ado, this is A Flock of Seagulls, I Ran So Far Away, from their 1982 self-titled album. I love this. Is this... Oh, like dark synth bass. Is this intro in the video? I don't think it is. Like electric, like starfall synth. And it's also like glass, like in the wind. Oh, I love that intro. Just the like ghost banshees in the sky. The atmosphere of this is wicked. But I don't remember it being quite that dark and ominous. Iconic. but it's fantastic, like, in and of itself. I love the sort of, the way that line is delivered. It has a slightly different rhythm than I may have expected the first time I heard the tune, and I like how it's a dead pause, like, everything else sort of, like, holds on for a moment. I love the double rhythm of the lines. I like the drum roll. I also like that. I don't know if it was synth or if it was the guitar, but it's like sort of like an increasingly loud, like ambient, like carried you into the measure change. I like the choice on that one, peering from like, it's like an apostrophe, like. Such a good song. I like the altered ending to that version of the chorus. Love the echo of the guitar, but again, that melodic pad, like a lot of substance, a lot of depth. Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. It totally makes sense that was a massive hit. I think it's, again, it sort of feels like it's somewhere between synth pop and synth rock, maybe even with kind of a post-punk flavor. Yeah, just a top tune. I love the wicked atmosphere. It's, you know, like a couple tunes that I've reacted to from a couple different groups recently, it sort of blends the light and the dark. It does feel almost sort of like evaporative, like you're being drawn up in a beam, especially sort of with his vocals, and they're very melodic. But yeah, some of the other sonics kind of have a more wicked and sort of like terrestrial kind of grounded edge to them, so I like the sort of sonic contrast of the tune. And his singing is great. You know, I'm not like a vocal person in terms of like understanding like, you know, technique and sort of like detailed understandings of performing styles and whatever. But yeah, I really like the way he sings, and I think the vocals fit the track atmosphere that I was just describing really, really well. And yeah, like I said, it's a funny song in the sense that, like, you know, it's about sort of, as far as I can tell, unless, you know, it's operating on multiple levels, which is entirely possible, but you know, prima facie, it's a song about encountering a woman who seems to be just like anyone else in the crowd on the street at night, but turns out to be something very different, and, you know, perhaps something dangerous and perilous to oneself. But yeah, it has a real sort of dramatic feel, even if it is kind of like a crazy sort of sci-fi narrative. But yeah, let me know what you think of the tune. Once again, shout out to Han Solo for making this material available. Welcome once again to anyone who's been looking for Flock of Seagull tunes and you found my channel. Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to keep going through this album. I'm going to go back to the first tune and do them in order, and then obviously I'll skip over this one and go from 2 to 4. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to go through that, and then I'll go through the next album, and yeah, hopefully you're here for it. Do let me know what you think of the song. I'll see you next time. Peace.